my career path was not running a dance school. It was just, I sucked at dance. I wanted others not to struggle as much. And so since I was little, I've always wanted to just help others ease that journey. Our biggest regrets in life are the moments we didn't listen to our heart. There are head decisions and heart decisions. And anytime an opportunity feels big, that's a heart decision. That's not a head decision. When you start, you're bad. You're supposed to be bad. You don't have the skills. It doesn't mean you don't have the ability.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Ida As If a Podcast experience, and thank you for your attention today. Guys, this is a podcast about life, and today I'm honored to have Aleks, the one and only Aleks. Aleks runs the biggest salsa school in Canada, right?
It is.
Yes. Toronto Dance Salsa. Welcome to the podcast today, Aleks.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you for allowing me onto your platform to share my journey and all that stuff.
Excited to get into it. So I'm starting off with the fact that you're wearing a t-shirt that says belong.
Yes.
And I know that is your core value.
Mm-hmm.
So can you take me through the story of how that came about? I think it's got to do with things right from your childhood up until now.
Right. Yeah. Well, so I've always felt like an outsider. I've always felt lonely. I kind of describe it as I've always felt like I was a donkey in a world of horses. It's like the ugly duckling, right? Like that was the thing. Like, so growing up, like I never felt like I belonged. I really struggled. And at that point, I didn't really have a name for it. I just knew I was different. And I always felt like, well, nobody wants me around. Like, because if they did, they would include me more. Like I'd fit in more, but I don't quite fit in. And so that was, just lots of little moments where it's just I kept finding validations for why I'm different and why that's wrong and there's something wrong with me. And so as I got older, I mean, it was only 9 years ago, I guess, maybe, but I finally was able to put a word to it, the thing that I was always struggling to have enough for myself, but I always gave to others. Like I never want anyone to not feel like they belong. So I would go out of my way to make sure everybody feels included and they don't feel judged, because I know what that's like. And so about 9 years ago, I figured out, what my core value, my one word is belong. And since then, I've been on this mission to solve the world's greatest problem, which is loneliness. So that's my mission in life, to solve loneliness in the world.
That is beautiful. And so I know you incorporate that in running the Toronto Dance Salsa School. Tell me how, because you're an immigrant, right? You came into Canada from when you were a little boy, I guess?
Well, yes. Actually, we came in as refugees. So our process, so my mom and I and my brother, or my family, we're from a small country called Uzbekistan. So it's one of the stands.
Oh, yeah.
That's kind of Central Asia. So one of the stands next to the Kazakhstans and all the other stands. It's a big family. And so we left in 1996 when the economy was falling apart, just like everything, corruption exploded, just a lot of problems. And so my mom took a chance by us going on a trip to the United States, or that's what we said was the reason. And then once we got to the States, we crossed the border, like we actually crossed the border, and we sought asylum. And so that was the process you can follow through. And we got super, super lucky because we were the only family in that circle, like cohort, you can say, that actually was allowed to stay. So we got really, really lucky. They gave us a chance. So I was 9 years old. So I'm 36 now, going to be 37 this year. Yeah.
Oh, we're about the same age. I guess the question I'm going with is, how did you go from being you, the little boy who didn't feel like he belonged, to running this huge salsa dance school?
Oh, wow. Okay. Let me give you the Coles note. I started dance, and then you can just dig into whatever you want. But because I started taking dance classes because I was really insecure and had body complex issues, and I had no rhythm. So I started taking dance classes at the school as a student, and I fell over time as I kept dancing and dancing and dancing. I fell in love with the environment. I fell in love with the culture of at the school that I was a part of now. I run. It's like, no matter how badly you dance, you belong, right? Like those words weren't said, but it felt like, okay, like I suck at dancing. Like I was the worst at every class. I was always the worst.
But you never felt like an outsider there.
Oh no, I felt like an outsider too. Oh no, 100%. No, but but I felt less like an outsider there. Like even now, I still feel like an outsider. That's not a thing that just disappears. I think I've learned, and I continue to learn, how do you not see it as a weakness? Like how do you see it as a strength? How do you see it as a calling? Like, and how do you also just give yourself the right things when you feel low or when you feel lonely and you feel like an outsider, right? Like, if I could go back in time and go see my 18-year-old self, like I would give him some great advice and just tell him things that nobody around him would say out loud, right? So,
what would you say
but
to your
that's the kind of the
18-year-old self?
close. Oh my gosh, what would I say to my 18-year-old? So what was happening then? 18, I was thinking about being a marriage counselor. I had to stay back one more year in high school to raise my grades up. And I honestly, I just first say, what you feel is normal and there's nothing wrong with you. Like you feeling like an outsider, like you feel like you don't belong. Others feel like that. Nobody's just saying it. I would first say that. I would say, go and have those conversations with the people close to you. I know you want to wait for others to take the first step. Everyone's taking the first step, but everybody's lonely. And you sharing, I know, is scary, but it's necessary for you to find your people. I'd say that. I'd say get out of psychology. I'd say start dancing earlier. I started 23. I'd say go start dancing now. I'd say that too. I was like, I wish I started dancing earlier. I'd say that. There's a lot, in hindsight, 2020. But the biggest of all is I think like what everybody struggles with most is pain is so personal. And because you feel it personally, you lose context that other people are feeling it. You just can't help it. Like if I pinch you, you're like, Aleks, why would you pinch me? That hurts. Yes. And I'd be like, well, other people get pinched. And you'd be like, I don't care. You just pinch, right? Like it's that, right? It's like, what does that have to do with anything? Yeah. It's like, why are you taking personally? Other people get pinched, right? Like it makes no sense. But yet over the years, I try to kind of ground myself in that context. And I would normalize not only just that other people go through it, but life comes in seasons. And you're going to have those moments where sometimes it's in a day, sometimes it's in a week, where it's like, it feels like winter. It's depressive. It's just difficult. It's hard. And I think just me going back in time and saying that at least would normalize my experience. It would make the suffering less. Because I think a lot of the suffering is you have the thing you're going through, and then you feel isolated because you feel like you're the only one. Like so much of the pain is like, I'm the only one. And so if I go back in time, that's what I would say. I'd say you're not the only one, but it's normal. You're going to feel like this for a long time, but it's going to get easy. I promise you. But right now, what you're feeling, you're not a weirdo to feel that way.
But don't you think going back to say those to yourself would not make you experience the things you experienced that led you to be the person you are right now? Because you incorporate your story into running your school. You're able to make other people feel like they belong because you know what it felt like to not belong.
I mean, listen, now we're going into like whole sci-fi section of like traveling back in time and like the decisions that made me. Yes. I mean, we can go on that riff. I'm totally up for that. What I will say is like, I mean, I think the question of if you go back in time and talk to your younger self, really like whoever's listening to this podcast, I know they're all feeling lonely on some level. And so just, I hope that when they hear my voice, as I talk to my inner kid, they just hear, oh, okay, so Aleks goes through, oh, he runs a massive school, Canada's largest South school. Like he has so many people who love him, but he still struggles with loneliness. Yeah. But I do. And it's hard. But I've learned to use that discomfort to help others suffer less. And I think that the big part of healing comes from you're consciously aware, here's this dark side, that's this thing that I've experienced, but I don't choose to let it define me as a victim. I choose to let it define me in my mission to help others not feel that way.
That's powerful.
Right? It's like Superman. It's like his planet exploded. Superman wouldn't be able to fly if he never came to Earth.
Yeah.
So like the planet had to die. And now if you think about it the other way, it's like the way Superman gets his power is through radio, like the sun, but it's like
The sun, yeah.
radiation. But it's the sun's radiation. So the thing that kills you makes him stronger.
Yeah.
And then what he did was like, you look at Batman and Superman. This is two great examples. Now we're going to totally nerd. I'm sorry, but we have to now. Like they both help people and they have both traumas.
Well, they help people because their traumas made them stronger.
Well, but like you think about it this way, it's like the villains have traumas too.
Yeah.
Right. So like, and if you think about it, like Batman, like, like he saves people, but like he doesn't have a regular relationship, like super toxic kind of relationship he has with himself, right? Like, and a lot can be said about Superman, but I think there's this idea that there is the thing that happened to you.
Yeah.
Now there's a way that you also put meaning to it. But then there's also a way that you can choose whether to live within the darkness to help people or live within the light to help people. For me, I mean, I'll say this, I didn't think I had a choice. Like I think I'm designed to be more in the light. But I know that there's a deep, deep dark side in me also. Like I know that I could have been very easily a drug addict. I could have been, like there's so many paths I could have taken that I guess what I'm coming to, I mean, it seems all over the place and maybe it is, but
no, it's not.
I guess the idea of, I guess it's just this idea of, one, whoever hears this, I hope they know that they're not the only one. Two, it's like, you said your point of, well, if you go back in time, then you really might not be where you are right now. And I agree. And in fact, like I've had these moments where I'll just like daydream, oh, if I could go back in time, and I'd like literally have like, not a panic attack, but I'd have anxiety because I'm like, if I didn't meet those people at those moments, I might not be running this dance school.
Yeah.
Now, does that mean that I couldn't have started my own dance school or whatever? I don't know, but it's like, there is that part of just like, the missteps do make me who I am. And I just get to choose if it's for the better or for the worse based on the lessons I take away and how I show up for other people. Because it's very easy to say, well, I'm like, so for example, I'm naturally like, I have a fat man sleeping inside me. What that means is like, naturally, if I eat even a little bit extra, like I'll gain weight. It just is. And most of my life I was overweight. I was 200 pounds. So now I'm 148, 149. So I've lost over the last 2 years, 50 pounds. But I also know, like, if I just give me 7 days to eat whatever I used to eat, I'll gain back so much of that weight. And so there's this idea of just like, I could be like, oh, well, I could have stayed overweight, unhappy, and being like, well, that's how my body is.
Yeah. Because
that's the cards I was dealt. It's like Superman could have been the ugly version of it. He could have been a villain.
Yeah.
Now, I think this is a segue to how important the role models and people in our life are, whether they're in person or through virtual, because his parents raised him to have good values. Superman wasn't a good baby. He was a blank slate. And so like, there's been massive and important role models in my life who have helped me make sense of the world, and so much more, have taught me values that have shaped me. And I think that's incredible. Like Batman had nobody, right? Like he had the butler, right? But like that's at its best, right? Like, and so he went into this whole like tunnel of a world, right? Like,
yeah.
And
I think that's something that a lot of immigrants don't. I don't know if it's because we don't have that culture of having those role models, because most people, okay, I come from Africa, right? And until a few years ago, I never really had the role models to look up to point me in the direction of the things that I should be doing. Like, I know where I'm going, but having somebody to tell you, okay, this is where you're going, and if you want to go there, then this is what you should be doing. I think we have to actively seek out people who would be those role models in our lives. Because it's not all the times we're going to meet them in person. It's about looking at books. It's about listening to podcasts, about, I don't know, the things you expose yourself to. And so just like what you're saying, you had really good role models that allowed you to then become the person that you are right now. Because all of this could have channeled the wrong way. You could have been the worst version of Aleks, like you could have been, because you don't feel like you belong. That you could be the bully to make everybody else feel like they don't belong. Or you could channel that and become the best version of you, which is now helping every other person and using that in your business as well, which is what you've done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what we're
Speaking of
doing
which,
here.
I know, right? Speaking of which, I wrote down here opportunities,
I
which,
saw.
oh, you saw me right there.
Yeah, I was like, I was like, yeah, it's another point. Let's go.
Yeah.
Good.
So,
Okay. Yes.
yeah,
Opportunities.
I wrote
Uh-huh.
opportunities, right? And
Uh-huh.
for you to get to, because you were dancing in the school and then now you became the instructor of the school. There was an opportunity that you jumped at,
Right.
which the opportunity for you to then become the person, even though you were uncomfortable, you were able to take that leap of faith to now become all of this. Talk to me with that in mind. Think about the people who might have opportunities in their lives that they are not willing to get into, to take that leap of faith because they are afraid that I'm not suitable for this role that you're trying to put me in. With that in mind and your own personal stories, is there something you can help, you can say to encourage somebody who might be at that place right now?
So,
Or maybe
okay.
just
So,
sharing your story would get
yeah, yeah,
somebody
yeah.
to.
So like, so the question you're asking is someone who has opportunities, but doesn't have the courage to say yes to those opportunities.
Yes.
Those are the people we're talking to right now.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I I think the easy thing to say is, okay, well, so I'll give context. So there's been a couple of big opportunities in my life. So one of them was when I was a student, I wanted to be a volunteer at the school. They rejected me. I was an incredibly bad dancer. And so I said, what do I have to do? And they said, you got to go repeat a bunch of classes. And I did. When I wanted to be an assistant, they said no. I said, why? And they said, you don't look good dancing. I was like, oh, are you kidding?
Wow.
What do I got to do? Yeah, it was painful. When I wanted to be an
Wow.
instructor, they said no. I said, why? And they said, you don't look like a dancer. At this point, I've been dancing for so long. I'm like, what? And at every step, I just kept saying, okay, what do I got to do? Okay, now you got to go do performances. And I said, I don't want to do performances. I don't want to be on stage. I want to just teach people. It's like, no, you got to do. Okay, so I did that. And what happened was about a month or 2 months into the training of me being an instructor, at this point of an hour-long class, I'm teaching just 5 minutes. So it's that 1/6 of a class, right? So the previous school owner is saying, okay, you teach this little section. Cool. She calls me about 4 or 5 months, 4 to 6 weeks into the training. Finally, I get this opportunity. And she says, hey, I injured my back. I can't come in and continue running my classes. We need a guy to come in, and we can't have 2 guys up front because it's going to be confusing for the students. I think you know what this means. And I was like, what? Is there someone else I can train with? She's like, we don't have anyone else. And I remember she hung up and I just started sobbing because it took so long for me to prove myself. Like, it took so long. And it's not like I wanted to run a dance school. Like, at this point, I was planning to be a police officer. Like, I had a different, like, my career path was not running a dance school. It was just, I sucked at dance. I wanted others not to struggle as much. And so since I was little, I've always wanted to just help others ease that journey. And so the very next day, I called this guy who also ran the dance school. And I said, hey, I know you're going to come in. I don't know how I can help. Let me come pick you up. Right. Like, I didn't have really much relationship with him. He was my salsa level 6 instructor. And so he gets in the car, I remember, and we're driving to the studio. And I remember just driving, and I'm just like, the closer I get to the studio, the further I get away from my dream. Like, what, like what's, and then he just throws this out. He says, he's like, I don't need to get better as a teacher. If you want, you can take over not all 3 hours, all 3 classes today, and you can teach them on your own. And I'm gonna be in the closet hiding. And as you teach, when you play the music for the students to practice, you're gonna come into the closet. I'll tell you all your mistakes, and I can train you like that, like in the moment. What do you say?
That's from the 5-minute sessions to now training the whole three-hour session.
Taking over for the school owner, beginner, intermediate, advanced classes that I'm not equipped to teach, much less dance. And he's like, this is your right now. You want to do this? And I remember like shaking, my hands shaking. I'm driving, and my hands turned white. And I just, in my mind, just something said, if I say no now, I might never get this chance. I said yes.
Yeah.
And we just dove into it. Later, finding out this is Evan Carmichael, my mentor, the guy who wrote so many of those books.
My mentor too.
Everything, everything, became my mentor, became my friend, my dad, like so many things for me, right? Like that, yes said. Now, Now, this is a great warm story. But on the other hand, it's like we all have opportunities. But I said yes because I wanted it. And so for someone who has an opportunity that wants it, it's first going to talk to someone who believes in you more than you believe in yourself to convince you to go and do it. Because I don't want to say just go do it. That's not how it works. You do need people who believe in you more than you believe in yourself. And I think like, you know, your boss says, hey, do you want to do this project? And you're like, but I'm not a public speaker. If you really want, if the thing that they're offering you is the place you want to get to or be at, and you're not capable in that moment to say yes, like you're just too scared.
Yeah. Go
to someone who believes in you more than you believe in yourself. Now, a lot of people will be like, well, I don't have anyone like that. Well, that's not true. Go to your old middle school teacher, go to your old high school teacher, go to your uncle, go to your friend, whoever can say to you, who can listen to your drama, whatever your doubts are, and then say, you can do this. You just need that. Like, I think that would do a lot more. But also I'd say this, it's like our biggest regrets in life are the moments we didn't listen to our heart. There are head decisions and heart decisions. And anytime an opportunity feels big, that's a heart decision. That's not a head decision. You don't make lists. You don't plan the financials of it. And I know you're all about finance, but like if it's an actual hard decision, say yes and then figure out the details. Not like you go blindly, but just say yes. And credit to this. Years later, I was talking to Evan and I was like, what made it right? Like, how did you know to like give me the dance school, like continue to be my mentor, even to this, like what? And he said, you said yes. He said, if you said no, like, he's like, it would never, none of this would have happened. Like me talking to you 9 years later, right? Like living the life that I get to create and have the freedom to create, you know, like all of that, everything that I want to do, all the great people in my life. It was because I said yes. And so, you know, say yes. Also, just say yes. Like figure it out. Like say yes. You don't know, awesome. Work hard, figure it out. But do say yes, because when we're old, our biggest regrets are where you listen to your fear and you didn't listen to your heart. Like our regrets, I should have done this sooner. I should have been there earlier. I should have started that. Not, oh man, I should have said no. Yeah. Very few regrets are like that.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, I stayed in this relationship too long. I should have left earlier. Right? It's like, because your heart already knows. And so, you know, it's like that song, listen to your heart, right? Like it is, it's, you got to listen to your heart, but also you do need people. You need at least one person
who believes in you more than you believe in yourself.
Yeah. But mostly, I don't think people have that. Like, I don't think people have that. And I think like when they hear this, they're like, well, I don't have that, then that's it. No, like go find someone you respect. Go find someone you respect. It could be your, you know, like when I was in high school, it was my science teacher. When I was in university, it was a computer programming teacher. I was in psychology. Like we weren't even really, right? Then it was Evan. And so like, if I look at it, like at different stages, I just had these people that I admired or respected because they had certain qualities. So you look at your work, you look at your workplace, you look somewhere and you're like, who do I respect? Right? For how they show up in life. And just go spend more time with them. And then the thing is, you know, it could be like, well, why would they want to spend time with you? Well, maybe they don't. Maybe they won't. Who knows?
But you need to bring value to them, right? You need to find something that you can.
Yeah, and there's like, and it's more of just telling them how much they mean to you.
Yeah.
Like there are so many people that I over deliver and help and coach. I don't coach. Like that's not I'm not making a business out of it. But like I've helped people through like suicidal thoughts and whatever, simply because they just reached out and they said, I'm really struggling. And I'm like, let's grab a tea.
Yeah.
Right. It's like, you'd be shocked at how many people can show up if you just show up with vulnerability. And so there are people we can all find to lean in on. But it's work and it's okay. But I'd say that if there's a decision you're sitting on, listen to your heart. 1, 2, go to someone you respect and value that just will convince you to do the thing that you really do want to do.
And if you could give one final tip on people for how they can network. being able
how they
to
can
reach out.
network.
Yeah, being able to reach out to those people who they admire, or people who could be mentors to them. Any ideas on that?
It's what you said. No, yeah, I'm just thinking about it. Like it's what you said. It's starting with a message and doing everything you can to help them win. Like if people are like, how do you find a mentor? It's like the question is right, but often it's channeled from the wrong place.
Mm-hmm.
Like we all should have mentors, but often mentors pick us. So so the better question is, how do I pick a mentee?
How do
And
you
then
pick a
through
mentee?
that, yeah, like that's a great question. Thank you for asking it. No, but like legit, how do I pick a mentee? I pick someone who believes in my mission, who
Yeah.
cares about people because that's my values, who makes people feel like they belong, and who's hungry for growth. Like someone who comes to me and already knows, like, oh, I already know it. I'm like, I don't have time for you then. If you think you know it, then right. Like what I'm most excited is to help people who are further behind than me. So you go with a humble approach, and you just literally with earnest energy, you just go, I don't know how I can help you. Can I clean your toilets? But like legit, like this is the thing. Like there's so many stories. There are so many stories of, the guy who washes the car of someone rich and then gets advice and bills, right? Like, but like it's like when people are like, hey, like I'll give you what not to do. How about that also?
Okay.
So I had like people message me and be like, oh, hey, I think I'd be a great instructor for your dance school. And so first of all, someone who writes it like that, I'm just like, okay. And then they're like, yeah, I just think that the way that everything is being taught is wrong.
Oh,
And
wow.
yeah. Not even at my school, just like the way that they teach is wrong. And I just think I have this really good system. Yeah, like they're out. Now, what are the warning signs? Like, what are the warning signs? The warning signs is they're coming in already figured everything out, which is different from confidence. You see, if someone writes to me and says, Aleks, man, I love the fact that you're starting to spread belong and you're working so hard. I actually, watched your story, and I've struggled with loneliness for the longest time. And I want to help people the way you help. I don't know how to get started.
Yeah.
You're gonna want to respond to it, even if you don't run a dance school. Right?
You
It gives
would.
you chills as a mentor.
Yeah.
As a mentor, I'm like, I want to sink my teeth into this person because
Yeah.
you want them to win.
Because they came about it being human. They weren't putting themselves up there. They're being human. They're exposing the vulnerability already to you and admiring something that you have and saying, okay, I want to learn something from you.
We want to help people that are asking for help.
Yeah.
That's how mentors choose. And each mentor will have their own things that they look for based on the personality. But like, how do you network? Like, network for business is different than like mentor, right? Like, that I'm not an expert in. Yeah. That I'm building myself right now. But in terms of like, how do you find a mentor? Like networking like that? Like, how do you? That's the way.
Yeah.
I was helping. One of my mentees. She wants to be closer with her boss. She works in a corporate world. She admired her for a long time. And so a couple of times at the end of this night, we're sitting there for an hour and a half, and I'm coaching her on how she can have the woman she admires be more in her life. And the conversation was, first, it's like, have you ever told her how much she means to you and how much you respect her?
You said no.
She's like, no. I'm like, why not? And then she's like, well, it's a corporate world. Nobody says that, which is true. I'm like, yeah, you're right. But now what? Now what? I'm like, but now what? Like, how do you stand out? And so I literally forced her to send an email that night. Like I forced her. I'm like, you're not leaving the student until you like, which I almost never do I ever do, but I'm just like, and so she sends this email and she's like, oh, it's not even for my work email. It's not professional. It's late. And I'm like, Jana, just send the email. And like at 45 minutes later, she sends me a screenshot. Her manager replies, oh my gosh, I'm looking forward to meeting up with you as well. Blah, blah. And she's like, oh, wow. Emotional. Yeah. And I'm like, yes. I'm like, yes. it seems obvious, but nobody does it.
Well, people are hungry for connection, right? But I think we've put up all these barriers because we expect that things should be this way, or we think that things cannot happen that way. Just like she was saying, nobody does that in the corporate world. It's true, but it's goes back to the heart over the head. Sometimes just listen to your heart. Don't wait for it to be logically sensible for you to do it, because your heart is saying, hey, this is the next thing you need to do, right?
Yeah, and then this is the thing of like having a mentor. It's like you need like you need a person to be like, you're being an idiot right now. You should be at this. Like, I think a mentor, a mentor is someone who believes you can get to the place you believe you can't. And a great mentor is someone who believes you can get to a place you can't even imagine. Right? Like, that's the difference between like Evan as a great mentor and other mentors. Like, he sees places for me that I don't believe or see for myself. Where a good start of a mentor is at least believes in you 4 or 5 steps higher than where you are. Right? It's like the difference between an average fitness and, like if you have a personal trainer, an average personal trainer, let's say you're overweight, say you're 300 pounds and you have a personal trainer. It's like, and the personal trainer says, I believe you can get to like 240. We can do this. Right? Versus like if you have an Olympic level personal trainer, that'd be different. Personal trainer would be like, what's your wildest dream? I don't know, fitting into these jeans. Okay, we're going to go 6 sizes lower than that. Let's go. Right? Like, but that's, and then so, I mean, that's just me, I guess, saying I'm grateful for the person I have in my life and a few others that I had in my life. But I'd say it starts with just go tell them what they mean to you and how it relates to you and your life. Yeah. It's so basic, but connection starts with you making the connection, not waiting for the others, because it's never going to happen.
Yeah.
Unless you're in my school, and this happens all the time, but that's a different story.
Which takes us to the next question. Please.
Oh, that's, okay.
Yes,
okay.
Takes us to the next question. 2 things, actually. One thing is, you know how to use social media. You've seen the power of social media in using it to build, I guess, build your audience, connect with your audience. So if you can give a word of advice to entrepreneurs who might be listening to this, who wonder how to use social media to build their businesses, and then coupled with that, please let our audience know how they can connect with you if anybody wanted to reach out to your Toronto Dance Salsa or just to connect with you in person.
Yeah, well, to build social media, first and foremost is everything is a tool. Instagram is a tool, YouTube is a tool, and you have to just first understand which tool is going to help you get to where you want to go. So, there's Snapchat, there's TikTok, right? Like, you just have to know, like, what am I trying to do? Like if someone who's trying to build a coaching business, high-end clients versus mid clients, like that. 1. 2 is just pick one and get and post 100 videos. Just post like 100, and you're going to suck in your first 67. You're just going to suck, but you have to get through the suck in order to attract the tribe you've been hungry for your whole life.
Yeah.
But you can't attract your tribe if you don't. And so I say, you have a lighthouse, so you have a lighthouse sitting on a cliff. And so you have a light, in the olden times, you have a lighthouse keeper living downstairs in the lighthouse. And so this person would get up every morning, climb these metal stairs, and he would wipe the lens, make sure to change the bulb, right? But and this light goes out into the world. And so the lighthouse keeper can't blame the fact that it's foggy why the light doesn't cut through. The lighthouse keeper can't blame that there's dust setting on, he has to wipe or change the light bulb. And so what I'm saying is, like, you don't get to control who the people you attract, but if you're consistent in putting out your light, whatever you care about, whatever the thing is, whatever you like, for me, it's belong. For you, could be anything, right? Like whoever's listening to this, you put out consistently, given time, you will have your tribe. You will. It's a guarantee. Problem is, most people will try 3, 4, and they'll stop.
Yeah.
Because unfortunately, we're living in a time where it's like, if I don't see traction right away, it means it's not working. But that's not true. It's like, I tell my dance students, I'm like, dance long enough until it feels a little natural and then decide.
Yeah.
Anything less than that, and you'll just keep starting over and over and over, and then you'll be like, well, it's because Instagram's algorithm or blah. No. People notice good. People notice great. When you start, you're bad. You're supposed to be bad. You don't have the skills. It doesn't mean you don't have the ability. When people join level 1, no joke, they have 2 left feet. I was a horrible dancer, but now I run Canada's largest salsa dance school. And that's because I had to go through all the nights where I'd step on girls' toes and they would walk away from me or I'd be rejected. I had to go through that, and I had to keep coming back. And now people are like, I can't imagine you being a bad dancer. And then I always say, oh, put on a hip hop song, watch me dance. You'll see, I'm still pretty bad. I'm good at Latin, but not hip hop, right? But like, that's the thing, right? So pick a platform, pick the platform that actually will help your business. And you can do research on this in Google, and then post 100 pieces of content, videos, whatever, but post 100 and then decide. Oh, how do you find me? Instagram, Toronto Dance Salsa. Sorry.
Awesome.
Toronto Dance Salsa. Yeah.
Well, Aleks, Saiyan, everybody, thank you so much for your time today, Aleks. It's an honor to have you. And if you guys, I'm going to leave all the links in the description below. Please do well to follow Aleks on social. And if you reach out to him the right way, he's going to help you. Thank you for your attention today, guys. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye now.